y'all. Hope you are doing well. I don't know what just came out, but welcome back to my channel. I actually was trying to make sure I hit the right button because this is the first time I actually used my intro. So yeah, hoping that all worked out. And yeah, we're just moving right on along. So as you may see from the title, we're going to be talking a little bit of Vanderpump Rules. Now, I actually did a poll about a week or two or so ago, and I had a few of you guys say that you did actually watch Vanderpump Rules. And so since there was so much going on this season, I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and recap and review that show as well, because I actually been watching Vanderpump Rules since its inception, which for those who may not already know, and for those who do know, basically Vanderpump Rules was a subset, a kind of a follow-on show from Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So one of the things about this show is that they've always had very similar crazy antics of just a bunch of, I guess, fun-loving young people and all the things that they like to do. And one of the things, unfortunately, we used to see a lot about is a lot of switching partners, a lot of stuff that didn't make so much sense, and a lot of actually switching partners within the friendship group, which is a huge no-no where I come from. But that being said, this is something that we became accustomed to, at least for the first few seasons in Vanderpump Rules. And then things kind of started to taper down a little bit. They got themselves kind of worked out in a way that it just seemed to be more commonplace. And you start to see other, facets of their lives as far as the cast members are concerned. And then we get to season 10. Now, obviously, there was a lot of things that have gone over the last few years. We've had people that have been removed off the show, and then it came back, I believe, in season 9. And we were a little bit skeptical about how successful it would be coming back after season 9. But it did. It came back. And it was a little bit lackluster for some. I actually did not mind it. I feel that, sometimes when these shows are being rebooted or there's been a major change, I want to give it a season, really, full season, to see how they're able to overcome whatever previously happened, because this show had been on for so many years and I literally watched it every week. It was one of my, I guess, guilty, not so guilty pleasures, right? It just worked out. Beverly Hills would come on and then I would turn around and watch Vanderpump Rules. And I actually enjoyed a lot of the shows. Okay, sorry about that. I was trying to see what was going on out there. But yeah, so season 10 comes and I'm just like struck. I mean, who could have believed the things that were about to unfold here? And now we hear about the betrayal that we all know about, that was heard all around the world, called what? Scandoval. Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And I felt so bad for Ariana, because I really liked her as a character, or as, a cast member on the show. I really do enjoy her, and I like Sheena, and I like their friendship, and they've been friends for a really long time. And it was just so many betrayals that happened within season 10 with the Scandoval situation. Now, if you have not heard about what's going on with Scandoval, that's basically where two main cast members who have been on for a very long time. Tom Sandoval actually is the Sandoval part of it all. And he's actually been on the show since its beginning. Ariana came in like maybe 2 or 3 seasons later, I believe, and they became an item. Now, there is some controversy about how Ariana and Tom Sandoval got together, because Tom Sandoval was actually with another cast member who's no longer on the show, which is Kristen Doty. And him and Kristen were actually together for 6 years. I think ran into some of that time into the Vanderpump Rules as well. But they were together for the few years that they were together. Things exploded, as most relationships do. And he then got himself into a full throttle relationship with Ariana. Now, of course, a lot of individuals feel that, Ariana got what she deserved, because they felt that how you get them is sometimes how you lose them. Now, from what the back and forth is, and what I can remember about those early episodes on in those early seasons, is that there was definitely some interaction between Tom and Ariana at the time that Tom was with Kristen Doty. However, Kristen also had a fling with Jax, but there was a whole lot, like I said, of infidelity going on between, it appeared anyways, between Kristen and Tom Sandoval's relationship. So it didn't seem too out of place for me to see, him and Ariana get together. But they did, they bonded together, they got together, and they've been together for a full 9 to 10 years now, or almost 10 years, I guess. As far as this relationship is concerned. So that being said, it was pretty heartbreaking just to see how the cast had to deal with this betrayal, because this cast is such a tight-knit cast. They hang out together on the show, off the show. They've got families now that are building with little babies, and people are getting together. And so this was really truly a true betrayal for what Tom Sandoval did with Raquel. Now, Raquel, which is also we all know her name is now Rachel, so I may interchangeably use Raquel and Rachel together. She, to me, I never understood really her place in being on the show. I know she was with James, and James actually, he was with Kristen so many years ago and popped up on the show. And there was a time with James that I didn't really care for him. So as far as I was concerned, James really didn't have to stay on past season, I don't know, 5 or 6. But as time got on, he kind of grew on me. And, we got to see a little bit more of his family structure and some of the struggles that he shared about on his time on the show. And of course, him and Raquel, which I guess he brought Raquel on, started hitting it pretty hot and heavy for their relationships, and he was all in love with her. And then they were together for at least, I don't know, a couple of seasons or so before all this stuff blew up in everybody's face. And Raquel and James' relationship was one that seemed very much of codependent. And we get to see a lot of the fragility of Raquel in those seasons at the time that she started off with James. And, it was a little bit irritating, but it is what it was. So we go ahead and fast forward, of course, a little bit, and we see that Raquel and James end up ending their, I believe there was an engagement, and I want to say that was in season 9, at the end of season 9, during the reunion. So if you watch the reunion, you'd be fully aware of how that went down. And quite frankly, I was one of those people that thought, well, I think this is for the best for everybody, because I think that James and Raquel were not a match made in heaven. And he seems to be better suited with the young lady he's with now, which is Allie. And she seems really sweet, and she's to get along with the ladies. And yeah, it seems to be fine in this current setting. Raquel, as she had been on the show for the last couple of seasons, 2-3 seasons, she's ingratiated herself with the rest of the cast members. Pretty much notably getting very close with Sheena and Ariana. And Sheena really just took Raquel under her wing, right? She was able to kind of bring her into the fold more, really push forward for her to be accepted by everybody, including Katie. But there was a lot of issues there. No one was very happy about that situation, of course. But Sheena kept trying. And I know we all know Lala was not a fan at all whatsoever of Raquel. She let it be known every chance she got. And some things were true. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Lala at one point was a little bit too hard on her. I thought that, it's one of those things that, it's like kind of a wolf and a lamb situation. What are you going after her for? It's like it just wasn't necessary. But now you could see how necessary it is, because Raquel was quite the sniper in the situation, wasn't she? But yeah, so the dynamics with James and Lala was also an issue, obviously, as they did not only really good friends, but they did have some relations during the time of him and Raquel's relationship. So there's no love lost between Raquel and Lala whatsoever. But Lala did try this past season, didn't she? She did try to kind of befriend her. She did try to have a softer touch with her, because she thought that, obviously we were going to, she's here, so we might as well try to get along. But yeah, things just didn't work out so well, did they? Now, of course, there was a lot of rumors and innuendos about things that really turned out to really be true. They weren't rumors and innuendos. They really were things that were going on. People really were seeing things that was happening between Raquel and Tom that didn't seem right. That seemed odd. It seemed off, even for their friendship group. So it was interesting to see how the things that we would hear offline played itself really in real time for us seeing it at the same time as it was playing on the show. And even I think for the cast members, it kind of really just surprises them, really, kind of mind blows them for the fact that the things that they were thinking or seeing was really developing on the show. And when you put those two things together and they collide at the end, it's amazing how accurate Lala and some others were about what was going on. Now, I did not recap and review every episode naturally for this season. I thought I would just wait until we got to the reunion because the actual scandoval of it all was all over the place and everybody knows what's going on for the most part. But that's really the nuts and bolts for those who may not be totally aware. But there's so many publications out there. I mean, my goodness, CNN actually was covering it, and everywhere else has been. So, at the end of the day, the situation was one that was very layered. And I know some people will probably wonder, well, what was such a big deal about this betrayal? What was such a big deal that he cheated on another girl? Well, the thing is this, Raquel was really good friends and Ariana, I think, considered her like a best friend. And so it's like, your man and your best friend getting together. It's an age-old story, unfortunately, but still a betrayal nevertheless. And then you have the layered situation. They all work together on a show. And then you have the layered situation where you got Ariana, who's constantly standing up for Raquel in different situations up against different people and, really truly being made to be looked and a fool of on the show. And that was not of her doing, but that was of Tom's doing, the situation where you had Tom Schwartz, who is his best friend, maybe a little too close, I guess, because, when you have a best friend, you need to have someone that lets you know when you're wrong. And I don't know if Tom does enough of that, but at the end of the day, Tom Sandoval probably wouldn't listen anyways. So nevertheless, those were the layers that really made it really difficult for this to just be a regular betrayal, right? I mean, this is something that, although we've seen so many betrayals time and time again on Vanderpump Rules, this one just seemed to hit harder because I think that we all collectively did not think that Tom would ever do this to Ariana, even though it still goes back to the same situation. How you get them is sometimes how you lose them. If you believe that they really were together in a way that she deserved that type of consequence. So, that is debatable by some people. Me personally, I mean, any type of betrayal, any type of anything with someone else when you're in a relationship with someone is infidelity. Some people may not think that or believe that or feel that way. So there's the controversy. But nevertheless, we liked Ariana. She was very much a beloved character or cast member. We call them characters. Are really, I mean, they're people, right? Cast member on the show. So this, she didn't deserve. No one deserves to be treated this way. So so let's go right ahead and jump right into all of what it was is the real season finale, because you may have known that the season finale or the show last week was actually the original season finale when we had the big blow up between Katie and Raquel, and her mother was entered the scene as well, and Tam Sandoval at the end when they were doing the reveal of something about her, the restaurant that Ariana and Katie are building up together. That was actually supposed to be the original season finale. And then of course all this stuff blew up within January, February timeframe. I think we all found out about it in March, something to that extent. And so the crew decided to come back, get all the cast members back together so we can get the reactions of what was going on for the show, right? Because anything for a show. And this is what really catapulted Vanderpump Rules for this season to definitely go on for the next season and maybe the next 2 seasons without any kind of difficulty in that process. So then we moving right on to what ends up being the real season finale, which was yesterday. Now, I kind of want to break it up into scenes because I think it'll be a lot easier because there was a lot going on in the episode. So we're just going to start off with kind of where the show started off. And that was taking us down to March 1st of 2023, which ironically enough is, the honoring of women for the month. And I thought, well, how fitting is it that this is what ends up being the case? But nevertheless, the two ladies, Sheena and Rachel, were actually on Watch What Happens Live. And ironically, like many of you, if you watch What Happens Live, I was watching that show that season. I mean, I actually remember that episode, watching that episode. So when we heard all this breakout, I don't know, a couple days later, it was like, oh my gosh, I was watching that. And, I kind of feel, sometimes, how things may feel a little bit off in the air where, I don't know. It just seemed like Raquel was really feeling herself in the Watch What Happens Live episode. She really just seemed a little bit different, a little bit brassier. And now I think I know why. So, of course, Andy, he loves his games, and they were asking different questions. And, there was this issue within the season that apparently Raquel was supposed to be trying to get with Schwartz, which we all now know that Schwartz was nothing but a cover up for what was really going on. So at this time, we don't know this yet, right? So the question is basically asking Raquel and Sheena, hey, look, between the two Toms, which one do you think is the hotter? Now, Sheena is best friends with Ariana. So, of course, she says Sandoval, right? Because at the end of the day, obviously, we know that there's no interest there. She did not expect that Raquel would say Sandoval as well. So that was your ding ding, that something was up. And if you saw Sheena's look on her face, if you saw the way that she looked at her, like she was shocked a bit. But it was a little bit more residual from that point. But they just go on with the show nevertheless. And then that same night is when we find out what is going on. So then we go next into the confessionals of Tom Sandoval, of course, and Ariana. And the producers asked, are you ready? And of course, they're not ready for this. I mean, this is devastating what took place. But they go ahead and go through and tell us exactly what happened. So apparently, while Raquel and Sheena were in New York at Watch What Happens Live, which I thought that Sandoval was in New York as well, but that's not the case. They said they were at Tom Tom, where Tom was actually doing his band performance, because they were actually putting out a new single for the band. So he was trying to promote that. And as he was doing his thing, he actually got up, and I guess his phone fell out of his pocket. Someone saw that, gave it to Ariana for safekeeping, and Ariana had a woman's intuition feeling. And if you all know, when you have an intuition of something, you need to just go ahead and check it out, because usually your intuition is right. And in her case, sadly so, it was. So she decides that, she just had a feeling about something. She knew something had been off over the past few days or so. And she thought that, I just want to check and see what's going on. She just felt called to do that. So she did. She checked his phone and finds out that Tom had a FaceTime with him and Raquel on the phone. Now, we don't know yet where this FaceTime actually took place. So it's interesting where we find out later on, but we'll get to that. So, of course, she is completely devastated. I guess she gets Tom's attention, or attention comes her direction. Tom tries to rush her out of the Tom so they could talk about it in the alleyway, so no one else could hear what was going on. And at the time, she being Ariana, gives Raquel a call. Mind you, they're in New York. Wants to know, if you ever cared about me, if you ever loved me, if you ever thought of me as a friend, tell me the truth. When did this start? And Raquel then says, well, after the girls' trip. Now, if you've been watching the season, you would know that the girls' trip was in Vegas. And at that time, Ariana was at the girls' trip as well, but had to abruptly leave because her dog was literally passing away. And that's who Charlotte was. And so she's like, you mean after my dog is passing? And I was like, I was devastated for her. I mean, Ariana has been through a lot this season, right? Over this year, rather. She's lost her grandmother. She lost her dog. These are two very important entities in her life. And now she has to deal with this. And now, mind you, at the time this was going on, it had been an open affair for, between the two of them. I say open, maybe not so open, but in any event, 7 months strong. So after Raquel, I guess, and Ariana get off the phone, Raquel looks at Sheena. And Sheena's looking at her like, what's wrong? What's going on? Because I believe that Sheena could actually hear Ariana on the other side of the phone screaming, crying, just devastated. And Raquel just kind of plumps up and says, oh, well, hey, I was just having an affair with Tom Sandoval. We've been having an affair for months now. It's like, what are you talking about? So there was obviously a little bit of an issue there. I think that by Sheena's perspective, um, I guess Raquel had put her hands on her, maybe, I don't know, to stop her from, I don't know what exactly, but Sheena was in the motion of pushing her off of her. And then the next thing we hear later on in real time is that Raquel has actually gotten a temporary restraining order out on Raquel. Yes, Sheena. Out on Sheena, saying that she had punched her. Sheena denies that. And there is a scratch on her head. Sheena, doesn't know anything about that really, but she denies punching her. So, as we find out subsequently later on in time, the um, restraining order is dropped by Raquel. And not, well, I don't know if she really dropped it or not. They just didn't show up to court, right? And that was real time as well. So that's what basically happens there. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the what is it? The season finale, or not season, I'm sorry, the what do you call it? The reunion, and we'll go into that part as far as all the temporary restraining order and all that kind of stuff, because it was just a lot. Anyways, but so going back to that, yeah, so that's, at the end of the day, Raquel is nonchalantly tells Sheena about the affair. And yeah, it was just a horrible situation. Then Ariana says in her confession, hey, look, that Wednesday she learned what evil was. And hey, sometimes evil can be embedded in those who are the closest to you. And Ariana never lied. That is so true. It is sad, but that is the case. I often say that when you take inventory of everything in your life, you got to take inventory of the people that are in your life as well too, because not everybody in your life is meant to stay in your life for any long period of time, and you just have to watch people. Now, the unfortunate situation is, of course, anyone could do this to you, right? Any one of her friends could portray her like this. And so, you wonder how Ariana already has trust issues. So I'm thinking that this is only going to send it through the roof for her. But I'm just hoping that as time goes on, she'll be able to heal her way through this process in a way that doesn't cut her off from other people. And what we're seeing in real time is that that's happening. And I'm so happy for Ariana about that, because at the end of the day, I know she spent so much of her life and time committed to this man who she thought she was going to be with forever. And, for that to fall apart the way it did, and then for her to never feel safe in another relationship would just be a true travesty. Because at the end of the day, you know what? Just move on. In your best way, just move on. Get therapy if you need to get therapy, but don't let that relationship be the last relationship you have just because of what he did, because it's just disgusting what he did. And Raquel, Rachel, Tom, whatever, she's going to get what she deserves. And so will he. I believe that. So yeah, I believe in karma. And I think that it's coming for them. It comes for you when you're not doing anything wrong, right? So yeah, so that's basically how the show sets up, starts giving us a little bit more, obviously, insight of what is actually going on. Of course, we hear so many accounts in the news and in media and social media and all of that. And so we've got a lot, but it was nice to actually just hear from them as well. And it kind of even answered some small questions that I had, even from just what I was reading about, to actually like, okay, now I've got this from here. So then we also then have, we're moving on. Let's see, I had to write down some notes because, like I said, it was a really full episode. And if you watch it, you would have definitely seen that. But of course, then the show leads into just, seeing a little bit of everyday things that the different cast members are doing. And then we move on into Tommy and Ariana actually having their talking about the situation. And, of course, she says her famous line that when he asked her if she wants something to drink or could get or want something, and she says, I want you to die. And he says, look, well, that's inevitable, And yeah, I mean, he really hurt her, right? He really, really hurt her. And the fact that Tom sat in that session, I know in a way he felt like he was trying to tell her everything and how he felt and what he felt, and that he was sorry about the situation. Although, like Ariana says, you still haven't apologized to me yet, because at this point we're talking 2 days later that they're having this conversation. So the actual blow up of the situation happened on March 1st. Now we're on to March 3rd, and they're having a conversation on the couch because they're both, even to this day, still are living in the same home until they get all that worked out. So, it was just really, really awful to hear Tom basically, tell her all the things that he thought was wrong with her, and that she knew, and that he wouldn't let her that she wouldn't let him break up with her and that she was willing to do this to herself. And I don't know if I believe any and all of that at all in regards to Tom. I I think Ariana handled herself very well, quite frankly. And, she said, okay, so look, you're trying to use me as a scapegoat. So you're trying to use me as the problem. I'm the issue. I'm the reason why you did what you did. You're so unhappy. You're having all these problems. But rather than talk to me or let's go to therapy, because she would have went to therapy, you think it's best to go ahead and mess with my best friend. And he's like, oh, yeah, yeah. And then, of course, he says, I really wish I hadn't done that. I wish that I had did the right thing and talked to you. But, he was afraid and this and that. And quite frankly, he was just another cheater doing the wrong thing. And that was that, at the end of the day. Now, of course, Ariana shares, I would have went to the ends of the earth for you. I would have done anything up until the 2 days prior. I was there. I was your ride or die. I was always there for you. And because now, you're with someone because you got a little bit of money, because Ariana shares, I got with you when you didn't have any money. You didn't have anything. So now you got a little bit of money. You got yourself a little bar. You got a little band. And now you got this girl who only values herself through how she is seen through other men. And she gives you a little bit of attention. And that was that. Yeah, that was a real good roundup, bullet point paper format that Ariana shared, because that's true. That's exactly what happened. And, at the end of the day, one thing that I thought was so telling, and even I felt this through the screen, is when Ariana told Tom, looked him in his face and said, I want you to feel it deep in your soul. And I want you to hear these words, that I wish I'd never loved you. She wished that she had never wanted to be with him, and wished that she never was with him. And I felt that. Yeah. And she needed that to be the last word. She did give him an opportunity to say, look, do you have anything else you want to say before we never speak again? And all he could really say is, I'm sorry. And I didn't mean to do it. I didn't want to hurt you. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's done. She's hurt. So yeah, that's basically what happened in that session. It was just awful. It really was, him trying to defend his relationship with Raquel, in the sense of not just defending the relationship, but defending the so-called friendship, as if that was going to go over well. Right. And Ariana's like, screw your friendship. Your friendship is garbage. Right. And I'm ad-libbing, obviously, but at the end of the day, she's like, your friendship is nothing. There is no friendship. Like, what are you talking about? And I felt like that too. I was like, Tom, what are you talking about? So yeah, it was no good at all. So that pretty much ends that session there. I don't think that we'll see, other than the reunion, them actually having any real conversation. I think that's about it. I think that's a wrap on that. So then we move on to Tom Sandoval going to Tom Schwartz's apartment. And at this time, we saw and heard this quite a bit in media as well, about their Schwartz and Sandy's bar. And of course, once this whole situation went worldwide, people got very upset and they started going out there and trashing through the ratings of Yelp, the bar, or whatever they call it. And I think he said that there's scores 4.8, and then it got jumped down to 1. I mean, like, that's bad. So yeah, at the end of the day, it really was hurting their business. Of course, Tom, he's feeling like, look, I am now being blamed for this stuff just by association. But the bottom line is, Tom Schwartz has always been one of those people who was a keeper of all the lies and treachery. And this is hard when you are friends with both parties in the relationship. So you're going to end up betraying somebody. And he chose to betray Ariana. And that's what he did. And so he's going to feel the consequences. There's going to be wrath in that. There is going to be stuff that he's going to have to deal with by virtue of the fact that he chooses to be friends with this guy. Now, if this was a normal play situation, would this be something that anyone would expect him to just stop being friends with him? No, but there's a lot more at stake now. And they have businesses together. They have business interests together. And yes, birds of a feather do flock together. And they've proven that from season and season and season. They are of the same. Now, I know Sheena says that Tom Schwartz is a smart guy, really smart guy. I don't really see it. So I don't know if he's hiding that, and maybe he is. I don't know, but he seems very much confused all the time. Maybe that's part of the character he wants to lay out. I don't know. I'm not into it. Who cares? But that's just basically how it seems. So he's really upset because now he's seeing how this betrayal has effectively canceling him, as he says. Not do I think anyone really is going to get canceled out of the situation. No, not really. I mean, people are going to get upset about it and they're going to move on at some point, I guess. So, I mean, obviously, you're not going to get everybody back on your side, right? I mean, that's a done deal, right? What he did was awful. What Tom Sandoval did to Ariana was awful. It doesn't matter about the circumstances surrounding it. It was awful. If you want to break up with someone, you don't want to be with someone anymore, then leave them the decency and respect to say, you know what, I want out of this relationship. It's not working for me. And then you go. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too, because that was something else that Tom wanted to keep throwing in about the fact that he was so worried and wanted to protect Ariana. He's not protecting anyone. He didn't know what to do and how to do it. Or maybe he did. Maybe he got off on the fact that he was cheating around with his best friend. He was actually getting away with it. Like, I guess there wasn't enough bells going off that something's not right with this couple. Although Lala seemed to know, right? Lala seemed to be picking up the pieces really quickly. And so, I appreciated that. But no one else seemed to be enough to where it's like something's not right with that, or let's question that, at least to what we know. But here, that's what is going on. And then, of course, Tom, which I have never seen Tom cry as much as I mean, literally, he just fell into Schwartz's arms. And I just was thinking to myself as this was happening, why weren't you showing that emotion to, I don't know why my word's not coming out. Why are you not showing that amount of emotion to Ariana? Like, you would have thought that Schwartz and Sandoval were in the relationship, not him and Ariana. It was awful, awful, awful. But, as Tom says, look, I need you to go ahead. Schwartz says, I need you to go ahead and put out a post so people know that I ain't got nothing to do with this and I'm not the bad guy. And I'm assuming that the post that Tom did put out was what we all saw in real time, is what the post that he's referring to, which basically was Tom apologizing to everybody they worked with, everybody was part of their restaurants, the Tom and the Schwartz and Sandy. But we were all looking for, where's the elaborate apology to Ariana? Like, it was just insane. But, I do understand on one hand that, look, the consequences and things that you did are now affecting other people's livelihood. And that's not right. It's a sucky situation. I don't know what to tell you. It is a sucky situation. But I don't know if the ratings have gone up. I don't know if people have decided to stop attacking through the Yelp. If so, let me know. Drop it down in the chat. Drop it down in the comment section if you're watching the replay, because I would be interested to know if they were able to get their score back up. The answer is probably no. But yeah. And then Tom also mentioned about, as he's going back and forth, because Schwartz had said, look, you had told me about this, and I told you that you need to tell her because this was going to be bad if it blew up, because that was always a question about how long Schwartz had knew, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And he says, look, I told you to say something because I knew it was going to blow up. And in fact, that's exactly what happened. But then Tom goes into this tirade about the fact that, well, Ariana should have known that he was doing whatever he was doing. He should have known that he was with Schwartz. He should have known, she could have just gotten a car, I guess, and followed him to find out where he really was. I'm like, what kind of asinine statement is that? And even old boy says the same thing. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're not going to put this on her. I mean, this has got nothing to do with being put on her. I mean, it was just insane. His ideology in how he goes about processing. And this is why they say that people feel like Tom Sandoval is a narcissist. I mean, because it's insane what he is thinking and how he's literally trying to place the blame on Ariana for what he did. Like, he's so angry with her, but yet he's the one that did everything. So it's just insane. It really is insane. So yeah, so that's basically what wraps up that conversation. Tom Schwartz feels he's being canceled. Sandoval tells him, simply stay off of social media. I'm like, okay, whatever, dude, right? So then the show moves over to all the friends gathering back at Ariana and Tom's home to kind of comfort Ariana. She had a nice group of friends there with her, and I thought that was really lovely. Sheena comes. My heart went out to Sheena. She comes in literally in tears and something to drink, and she just feels so devastated because, as we come to find out and have known maybe over the last couple of episodes, I guess, Sheena and Tom had their own very good friendship for the last 14 years. And matter of fact, which I thought was interesting because I thought that Sheena had no Ariana, but no, she actually said that she was friends with Tom first, before meeting Ariana. So I thought that was quite interesting how that worked out, but that's the case. So yeah, she's devastated. I mean, she literally is devastated. I don't think I've seen Sheena cry so much in an episode either. She is just feels so super betrayed because not only was, like to me, Tom Schwartz was like a willing participant in the Patsy show, but Sheena was not, and Sheena had lent her apartment to Raquel after Raquel had broke up with James so she could have a place to stay. She says she was like a mother and a sister to her. She really was there all the time. I know that Sheena has a YouTube channel herself, and Raquel was featured on it quite often. I mean, she really did embrace this girl. And at the same time as she's embracing this girl is taking it upon herself to just demolish the friendship that she was having with the other girl as she's messing around with her boyfriend. So it was really, really awful. It really was. And Katie comes by, and it was nice to see that Sheena basically says, look, we can put our differences aside, I think, for this. And Katie's like, look, yeah, it doesn't, nothing matters as far as what our issue, our beef is, right? So Katie and Ariana are coming to, I'm not, sorry, not Ariana, Katie and Sheena are coming to Ariana's aid, and they're talking about it. Ariana's sharing more tea because we find out that, the information that was shared about the Abby situation where they were being seen dancing, Raquel and Tom Sandoval. Well, there was more to that situation. Actually, what Raquel would only tell is that they just, I think, just kissed or whatever. Well, no, Ariana pressed Tom more, and Tom came out and said, no, we had a few drinks. We did have a kiss. And then after that, basically they got into the car and then they did, screwed. And after that, he tried to get into the house, but he did not have his key. So Ariana had to let him in. Did not know what had just happened previously. I mean, just the oh my gosh, the evilness of that is just insane. And sometimes what people say, like when you like unalive someone, sometimes it becomes a situation where it becomes easier, right, for them to continue to keep doing it. So when you do something like this, when you cheat on someone like this and you just get away with it virtually, especially so close to the situation, and you keep doing it, then it becomes easier and easier to do it. It becomes easier to just make this commonplace thing to mess with this person because you're getting away with it. And I think he did enjoy the thrill of it. I think that there was a lot more to it than what he's talking about, where he felt that Raquel was, showing him respect, and Ariana wasn't showing him respect, and she was enamored of him. What she was in lust with him. What she was enamored of him. It was not about love. I don't even care about the concept of respect. Give me a break. I mean, it just was none of those things to me. He was in a weak person in a weak spot, and he just went for whatever. So at the end of the day, miss me on the whole respect thing, so any of it. But that's what happened there. And, she just shares all of that. And then another groundbreaking moment was, where did this FaceTime take place between Tom Sandoval and Raquel? Well, apparently this FaceTime took place in Schwartz's apartment. They were doing this crap over there. Yeah, so it was bad. It was bad, right? It was bad. But yeah, so that's what ended up happening with that. And so yeah, I'm just kind of looking through, make sure I'm not missing any of those points, but that's basically what's going on. This was supposedly the beginning of them crossing the line, and then they just went way over the line, and they just kept going. And I think they really do feel like they actually have true feelings for each other. But I mean, come on, it's out of lust, whatever. If they do manage to make it and continue, whatever, it's safe for everybody else, I guess, at this point. And then we move on to, there was also another point that was made, which is interesting because part of the Watch What Happens Live on March 1st, when Sheena and Raquel was on, there was a moment in that episode where apparently they were referencing a Tom Tom's sweatshirt. And Raquel had a Tom Tom sweatshirt. So now everybody was thinking that, so cutesy, that it was in her abode for Tom Schwartz. But no, that's not what it was. Now, apparently, according to Katie, that she was Raquel was taking poses at BravoCon in this with nothing else on underneath. That was so cute. And at the time when she had mentioned in our conversation with Schwartz about it at BravoCon, Schwartz said, "Oh, she's not for me. Oh, trust me, she's not for me. This is not for me." So that was a sign that, he was dropping the T. Maybe instead of the fact that they obviously could not tell everybody what was going on like they should have, I guess he just thought, well, we drop enough breadcrumbs, then they'll just figure it out on their own, right? I mean, it's such a coward way to do things, but that's what it was. So it stuck in Katie's mind, right? Katie was like, I'm going to keep this. And it always did. It always resonated with her that something was up with that. So this has been going on for a while. And then the idiot Raquel brings the sweatshirt to Watch What Happens Live and gives it to Andy. Like, you can't make this crap up. So that was something that was another bombshell moment that, okay, now we have a full circle about this so-called sweatshirt and everything that was going on, just as much as we know about the lightning bolt necklace, the matching, necklaces between her and Raquel and Tom Sandoval. So I guess I would show that their secret lovers, symbolism. Okay. Yeah. So that was basically the highlights of that area. And then of course we moved on to Allie and James. And I had shared earlier that James was not my cup of tea in the beginning, no pun intended, but he was not my cup of tea in the beginning seasons that he was there. I just really was a big fan of him. But he has grown on me, and I like him with Allie, and he's actually funnier now too, and he's had some funny things to say. But Lala and Katie actually in this moment come over to talk about what's going on. Of course, everything's still blowing up. So it was so funny because, Lala made it real clear, like, I knew something was up. And I guess back in September of 2022, she had felt that so many things that she had saw that was building up, that she felt Sandoval may have a bit of a thing for Raquel. And she shared that with James. Now, mind you, this was after James and Raquel's engagement. It was off. The relationship was off. So, nothing went beyond that point. But she did mention that because remember, James and Lala are really close friends. And of course, she feels like, oh, yeah, he's been doing this. Is not the first time he's been messing around Ariana, which I think we all kind of collectively feel that that's obviously true. And the fact of the matter is, she said, you don't just go from starting off messing around with a best friend to the group in this close proximity, because that was comfortability. He felt okay to do that. That means he's been sleeping with lots and lots of people. Now, she also mentioned that there was cast member Billy, who was on a few seasons ago and was gone a few seasons ago. I don't know. I think she was there for a season and a half, something like that. I was glad to see her go because she was quite annoying. She complained a lot. That's all she was doing. And I just got tired of hearing her whining voice. So I was very happy to see her go. But apparently there was some conversation about the fact that people thought that maybe Tom and her had a moment. So everybody denies it. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. Time will tell if that happens. I mean, there has been some reports that Tom and Billy have been hanging out again. And so I don't know if that's Billy's way of trying to get on the show for season 11, because I know they're probably having a hard time finding people to actually film with them for the possible season 11. But quite frankly, I hope Raquel does not show for season 11. Tom could go, and so can the other Tom. Bring on some new blood. Let's see what we could do with the show with some new people. I mean, I don't know. But I do see why people would be interested in having at least for one more season, right? Because it's the aftermath. And it may take a whole season to get to the aftermath. So we'll see what happens there. But Lala and Katie are, discussing things. And what's so interesting, right, is that Katie and James are cool like that, right? Because you remember James and Katie, they can stand each other, right? James said some really not so nice things to Katie, and they just really were, like oil and water. Is that right? Yeah. And they did not like each other. But now, they have a common thread with the situation when they thought that both of them were being portrayed by Schwartz and Raquel. But turns out, that wasn't necessarily the case. But nevertheless, that's what I think started the bonding there. And yeah, so and James in his infamous silly self, which I loved his messiness. I loved. He decides to give Raquel a call, and basically, says, "How do you feel that you just blew up everything, and now everybody that you ever had friends with and liked you in LA no longer wants anything to do with you?" I mean, it was just hilarious. And you see the other two Lalas kind of getting, fun out of this. Katie's having some fun out of this as well. Allie is too, but then Allie gets to the point where like, okay, just hang up the phone because it's like saying, are you guys an item now? Because remember, James and Tom were supposed to be pretty cool. Tom had spent quite a bit of money, I guess, towards the Rocello, which was the proposal for Tom and not Tom, excuse me. Was it James and Raquel? And I think it turned out that he only paid for was it fireworks and something else. But nevertheless, it's still a lot of money, I'm sure, for that. And James felt betrayed by him, which I found that would be interesting because I still am confused about the Kristen situation, because James was with Kristen after Kristen was with Tom, and they were supposed to be friends. And so, and I don't know if Kristen was messing around with James at the same time that she got with Tom, or that she was with Tom. I don't know. I was a little confused about that, but nevertheless, their friendship survived. So he feels really hurt, and he was in tears, I think, in his confessional. He was upset about that because he really felt like, man, how you do me this way. And, and that was my girl. I was going to marry this woman. And so, yeah, so he was really upset about that. But I also thought was really funny is when he said to Raquel on the phone, because Raquel's saying her kind of like, spaced out conversation response, yeah, she didn't know, almost like, she was like saying it was unfortunate that people don't like me anymore. It's been an eye-opening situation. I mean, just stupid stuff that she was saying. And then James says, basically, you're not the brightest chick. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that out loud. But he did. He said, look, I don't care. Sorry, not sorry. I am more than within my right to say what I have to say because I feel what she did was wrong. And you know what, look, James, I'm here for you. But he did tell her that the smartest thing that she did was be able to keep this a secret for the last 6-7 months. I was over it. It was hilarious. So yeah. And of course, I thought that was funny too. But it was good. It was a good comeback. So yeah, that was that on that. And then we move on to Tom and Raquel. Tom going to Raquel's apartment, basically them getting together and just trying to lick their wounds. He over there playing the wounded individual, everybody hates me kind of situation. We belong in hell. And she says, oh, we don't really belong in hell. And I'm thinking, well, I'm sure some people probably think you should be skirting across it, if nothing else. But yeah, so, they're over there trying to just, I guess contemplate over how everything just blew up, probably trying to figure out what they're going to do. They don't know for one minute or another what's going to happen here. Things are really bad. They did say that, look, we did come to the conclusion that we would not go through with this if this wasn't really going to be about something, which, again, lust. Okay. And, she does say that she talked to her family about this. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, what do you think? It's like a Romeo and Juliet betrothal moment. I mean, it was just so weird the way that they were talking about this. It really was weird to me. So she's like, yeah, I told my mother, and he says, oh, see, your mother hates me now. She said, well, yeah, pretty much. And then he makes the comment that his family loves her. Because when she says, how does your family feel? Or, she kind of whispers it out, hey, if you don't want to say, you don't have to. Excuse me. And I thought I did see, but I thought that his family wasn't too thrilled about meeting her, that they were not too keen on her. So I'm curious with the media reports on that versus him saying, oh, they love you. Who loves her? And who would? I mean, I get it. We may not get involved in your relationships. Excuse me. But he was in a 9-year relationship with someone. Like, how is that okay? I mean, and what do you mean love? What are you talking about? I mean, it's insane. So, and it wasn't his family saying that, was Tom saying it, but whatever. I would think it would make more sense that they would not want to be involved. Like, don't bring her around here. We don't want nothing to do with none of this situation. We don't have to have no conversation. But we do find on Watch What Happens Live that comes immediately after last night's episode where Ariana was on solo and she shared that she hadn't heard from his family. So, there's that. But yeah, so they, look at each other's wounds, basically, just, I don't know, sitting there in their victimhood. And Raquel ends up sharing that she's starting to feel isolated. That she really only has her family, or her parents, rather. I don't even know about even the whole family, but her parents, her sister, and him. And even him is questionable, because somehow the ding ding moment comes as she realizes, you know what? How could I really put all my future prospects in this person who was so willing to cheat on someone that he's been with for so long to be with me? How does that equate? And what she's basically also saying is that, look, I could lose you how I got you. Yeah, you sure could. Or you could be sitting there wondering every day of the rest of your time with him if he's doing something on you. Because quite frankly, he was much more betrothed to Ariana. What makes you think that he's going to do anything less with you? Yeah. If it was easy for him to mess with someone else outside of her, because we find out later that he admits that there was somebody else, but there might have been more somebody else's. But how do you think that that's okay, that he's going to do that with her, but he's not going to do that with you? I mean, come on, like, where's your brain? So yeah, that is basically that. And what the producers share is, after that ridiculous conversation, I guess because we just had to have the scene, that they didn't see anyways, Raquel. There was no text, no phone call. She just kind of just ran off and was done. But in real time, we started seeing like these weird pop-up paparazzi moments that she was having, talking about different things from here to Z, talking about the restraining order, talking about how they're just friends. Her and Tom were just friends, and they didn't know where this was heading, and it was just stupid. So yeah, that's basically what we saw mostly happening at that time. But yeah, so that really wrapped that up from that ridiculous moment. And then we moved to Ariana visiting Lisa, because of course we're going to every single cast member of some sort to get their responses of what happened, right? Because it's devastating for everybody. And oh, my heart went out for Ariana. She walked into Lisa Vanderpump's home, and she sees Lisa, and she just busts out in tears. And I felt so bad for her. I felt really bad for her. She's hurting. She's in pain, deep pain. It hadn't been that long since it had happened. So she was really, really in pain. But Lisa assures her, you're going to get to the other side. You're going to be okay. It's going to hurt for a while, but you're going to get through it. Now, also, Lisa shares on her confessional that, look, I'm still going to be there for Tom, support Tom, but I nowhere near support what he did. I nowhere near am okay with what he did. So I just look at the fact that she's known Tom for many years. She looks at these kids as like her, surrogate children, if you will, or quasi children. And so she knows that they hurt each other, but she doesn't want to necessarily get into the middle of it. And then you also got the business of the show as well to contend with too. So at the end of the day, I can see Lisa still carrying on a friendship, whatever relationship she has, but can do it with both of them, because she absolutely adores Ariana. She is in full support of Ariana and Katie doing their sandwich shop. And so, I don't see her really, she's probably the only person I think on the cast that could be neutral for Ariana, because Ariana made it very clear that she is not interested in being friends with anybody that Tom is friends with. That's done. She's cutting it off. And I agree with that. And it just happens to be right now at this moment easy for that to happen, because, well, who else is left? Katie's not going to be friends with Tom. And I don't think Tom Sandoval even likes Katie. Then you have Lala. Well, that's a wrap. Lala's not going over there to Tom's side. Sheena is done. She already told him in last night's episode, we'll get to that in a moment, that she's done with that friendship. The only person left, I think, is Tom Schwartz. And, so basically that means Tom Schwartz is out of the group too. So we'll have to see what season 11 looks like. But yeah, that was just really, really just heartbreaking to see that. But, I did like the fact that Lisa, took the time to comfort her and be there for her. And, I think that really meant a lot to Ariana, because I think Ariana has a lot of respect for Lisa. So, yeah, it was a very touching moment indeed. The next we go into Katie and Tom. Basically, Tom Schwartz drops off the kids, the puppies, which are like their kids, because they've got, both of them custody of the two dogs, right? Because they're going through their divorce. And Katie has only one question for Tom. And that is, how long did you know? So he comes into her apartment, drops off dogs. I think they just get groomers. He's trying to, awkwardly have a moment with her. And she says, we need to talk. So he's like, okay. So they sit down on the couch and she asks, that's all she wants to know. And he says, about a month. And she says, I don't believe that you only know him for a month. I don't believe that. And he's like, so I don't believe that, because you guys are too in touch, too close of friends, and they save each other through everything. So why on earth would you not have known this from the jump? Right. And she says, and also too, I know you and I know Tom just as well. And Tom would never have allowed a moment where he could stand by and allow you to be messing with a girl that he's messing with. And yeah, hello, I agree with Katie on that. There's no way that Tom would allow that. So of course he knew that something was going on. And I do believe that he was a willing beard for their situation. He was the ruse willingly. I think some people probably thought that he just was kind of dumbly put into that position. I don't think so. Maybe in the very, very super beginning, like maybe the first couple of days of the situation. But I think he quickly just kind of came on board because he was listening to Tom. He was definitely feeling, what is that? Vulnerable, not vulnerable, but just, I don't know, feeling that Tom was right in how he felt, and that, he was just supporting Tom fully to the brim. So I think he knew. It's just like he knew of anyone else that they would have been messing with. They knew. So yeah, it was just a really bad scene on that. And then Tom started talking some gibberish that didn't make any sense. But, he's really, really, freaking out because the business is an issue for him. He's in this, like I said, with the Tom and the Scorch and Sandy's, and things are not going well. All right. And he's afraid that, all this money, all this time, all this effort maybe forgot because of the fact of what Tom did. And it's like, yeah, well, these are the consequences, right? So we'll have to see. Time will only tell. We'll see. So that kind of ends that awkward meeting. But I did appreciate Katie asking the question, getting right to the point. And I never really been a massive Katie fan, but I think since she is no longer with Tom, she's just better. And I'll be honest with you, I felt like there was a lot of pain there this entire 10-year span that we've seen them in a relationship. And it just seemed like she was always chasing him, and he just wasn't really, I don't know, wanting to be chased. He had commitment issues. It was just always a problem. And I just think that she deserved so much better. And it brought the worst out in her, right? She was just not a pleasant person to see. Just, I don't know, the mean girl thing wasn't working for me either. So it was just an issue. And now that she has gotten from under that situation, I think that she's flourishing, and she is just better. And I find myself more in agreement with stuff that she's saying. And yeah, and I appreciate her forwardness. I appreciate her being just direct with him and asking straight up the question, what and how long and what was going on. And I appreciated that. And, and she's not giving Tom any snuff. I mean, she's like, letting him know, like, look, this is some crap, right? So yeah. So that basically wraps them up. And then we move over to Kristen's return for a very short scene. Actually, I didn't think Kristen was going to be on for that little bit of time. I thought there was a little bit more time there, but maybe it was just enough. We all know how she ceremoniously is no longer on the show, so there's no need to go back into that. But I felt that she was trying to be a real big support for Ariana. I've seen her on podcasts subsequently, and she is in very full support of Ariana. I know there's the issue where people think that, well, how basically this is what Ariana deserves because Ariana was messing with Tom at the time that Kristen was with him. But, they're over whatever that situation is. And Kristen and Ariana are friends. So they do joke about the fact that they're both each other's exes or his exes. And, but Kristen seems like she's like so over Tom. So it doesn't even matter. And she even said she was sorry that you had to carry on the weight of the crap of that is Tom Sandoval. But, she did have a very touching moment with her. She's showing her support with her. And that was nice to see. And then they have a bit of, like, that's a kind of a cleansing ceremony moment with crystals and such, which are, definitely very powerful things to have and to change your mindset, clear your chi and all of that. And she needs to be eradicated of all this evil around her, right? She really does. And being in the same home with him is probably not easy. But anywho, so that's what we're dealing with there. And yeah, it was kind of nice. The little ceremony was nice. And, hopefully Ariana is taking heed to all of the help that she's getting from her friends, the support that she's getting, and even quite frankly from all the fans, And it seems like it's working. So I'm really hoping that for her. But that was basically the time with her and Christian. I thought that she was trying to do her part in getting her to have some kind of peace, and that, you will survive this, you'll get over this, and it will be okay. So just trying to see what was that on there. Anyways, so then we went on to Tom asked apparently for Lisa, asked for some time with her. So he goes over to see Lisa. I don't really know why he went over there. I guess to plead his case, to say he's sorry. Tom's kind of a mess right now, of his own doing, obviously. He got very emotional. He was very upset. I don't know if it was real or not. Some people may not feel like Tom was being, sincere. I don't really know, because at the end of the day, a lot of people do feel he's a narcissist, and they can't really be that sincere, right? I mean, he could be sincere about feeling sorry about himself and sorry for himself. But do I think that anything else touched base here with him? I don't know. So, we actually see Tom actually hyperventilate, like, and I don't know what that was. Was it really that he's feeling the weight of what he did, or is that he's feeling the weight of everything? And who knows, right? At this point, who knows? But, that was the point where Lisa kind of broke a little bit, gave him a little bit of motherly love, and just said, you're not a bad person, you just did a really bad thing, and you're going to have to get through it. You will get through it, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to get through it. But the hyperventilating, I was kind of shocked by that, and I don't know, he just felt like the weight of everything on him, and that was why he just kind of lost it in that moment. And again, was it authentic? Who knows? If you think it was authentic, drop it in the chat or in the comment section in the replay. Because I don't know. I feel like whatever. And maybe that's kind of cruel, but I don't know. I just don't know if that is something that authentically he understands exactly the kind of pain that he exacted, because he is so angry. And that can be very typical of people who do someone so wrong and so heinous, like as what he did. They're looking for anyone else to be the blame, anyone else to be the fault besides him, right? And so at the end of the day, it just seemed like it was just one of those things that, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you might think differently, but I don't know how sincere he was about that. But yeah, at the end of the day, Lisa just says she'll be there for him. And so there's that. And then we go into the ladies' night where all the ladies get together. And Katie mentions that Tom Schwartz is actually going to be stopping by. I don't remember for what reason. I mean, what's apologize? I don't know. But anyway, Ariana's like, fine, and I liked how Ariana came in with her little gold dress on, and everybody else was dressed in black. She's like, y'all look like you're going to a funeral. But she looked great, and she looked like she was the woman of the hour, and I thought that was great. Her friends are just really there for her. And I'll be honest with you, Ariana just looks really good. I mean, she does. I know that she is dealing with so much at this time, but it looks like a load proverbially has been lifted off of her. And I think she's going to be just fine. And I'm happy to hear that she is dating someone. So we'll see if that turns into something more, if we'll get to even see that person on the show or not. Don't know, but she seems very happy and and content with who she's with. So that's a good thing. But yeah, so all the ladies are there, and Tom gets there pretty quickly into the time frame. And I just laugh because he says, "Oh wow, this is nice. I used to have a lounge, and what is it, a bar and a lounge?" And then Los, yeah, we're trying to blow that right on up. And I thought that was so funny. Law is not giving any F's about this situation, because they're just garbage for what they did and what they were a part of. And basically they allow Ariana and Tom to have a moment. They get up and go someplace else. Tom sits down. Ariana says, look, let me let you know straight off the bat, if you're going to come here and start talking about, that you feel bad for him and whatever, then I'm going to walk away, because that's what Tom has been doing. He's been doing this whole like kind of, oh, Tom is the victim, I'm not going to kick him while he's down, blah, 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 blah. I mean, my whole entire empire and my participation in that is going to smithereens, but I'm just going to sit here and coax him, and I'm not going to beat him while he's down. Like, get out of here. But anyways, he says, look, I'm not here to advocate. And I guess because he looked at the numbers again and saw that they probably even plummeted more than the 1 point. But he says, I'm not here to advocate, what he did was wrong. And, she says, yeah, because I was his ride or die. I was his person. And, she did get emotional, but she also let him know, look, at the end of the day, I am not going to be able to be friends with anyone that's friends with Tom. So that means me and you are not friends anymore either. And I thought that was like final, and it was sad. Tom understood, and yeah, that was really about that for the most part, right? They did talk about the post, about the business post. And said, yeah, basically he's apologizing to the business, but before he even said anything to me. And that's what we all said, right? We all felt the same thing. Like, where's the apology to Ariana? Like, give me a break. He's like, we have so many relationships with all these people and blah, 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 blah. The investors probably got a little nervous. And she said, well, he blew up your family. He tore that up. That's not Ariana's fault, right? Like, let's stop victimizing the victim or vilifying the victim, right? At the end of the day, he did this. So yeah, there's that. But he understood, and yeah, that was basically it, really, is a wrap up. And then we go 2 weeks later, and we're going into the end of the episode where he has the conversation with Gina. And truth be told, I was really waiting on that conversation, because like I said, Sheena took this as hard, if not harder, I think in some cases, as Ariana. I mean, she was devastated, and she showed the devastation every chance she got. And so oh yeah, it's just, that was the conversation I was here for. And I think that they did a good job at summing it up. It is hard to really reflect on 14 years of friendship and all the things that took place, and how to give the amount appropriate time inside of a 3 or 4 minute scene bite. I know that was not easy, but I think they did a very good job. Sheena shares in her confessional that the night of the Watch What Happened Live and everything that, got found out about, that Tom, I guess, got on the phone and was basically saying that, they really weren't friends, and that she wasn't his best friend, or he wasn't her best friend. And I mean, just devastating crap, because she had been close with him for 14 years. She had supported and cared for him as a best friend, really. And it was very hurtful. So she has nothing for Tom. She had a couple of questions she wanted to know, and that was all that she was interested in getting. And she also wanted to know, why didn't you just tell her? And he says, I was afraid, and she was going to unalive herself and all this kind of foolishness. And she's like, that's not for you to do. Then you call, I think it said Tanya or one of the friends from wherever she was. You call her, you call us, we get together, we'll help her, we'll coalesce. But you break up and you leave. You don't go and sleep with her best friend. And yeah, I mean, she is right. I mean, it was such a cowardly thing for him to do. And the fact that he is 40 years old, still doing his stupid stuff. Yeah, it just was a hard thing for from her to fathom. And she's like, look, you probably don't deserve any friends, but the friendship between you is over for sure. I mean, we cannot get behind what you were doing. It is done. And she's also at this time dealing with the foolishness of Raquel and this so-called restraining order, all of this buffoonery because of them and their betrayal. It was insane. So she wanted nothing else to do with it. But she definitely wanted to understand why, he did what he did. And she also wanted to know if he did it with anybody else. And he did mention someone else, and he was about to say something and then thought, no, it's not fair. I'm not going to go on and elaborate anymore, because she wanted to know, did you mess with someone else? And he said, yes. And she wanted to know if someone they knew. And I think there is someone they knew, someone in the fear. And I think that Ariana actually in the Watch What Happens Live after last night's finale shared that she's aware and hasn't talked to whoever that person is in over a year. So yeah, we won't know probably if ever who that was. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the time that Tom and Sheena had together. Sheena basically tearfully says, I've got to go cook my food for my baby, and you got to go. So he does. And that wraps that up. So, I mean, this season finale was one for the ages, that's for sure, is one of the most compelling ones. Just like, I honestly, in a lot of ways, not the same intensity, but the season 8, what was it? The season 8 finale where all the couples kind of split off, and little do we know that a few of those couples will no longer be on the show. And so it felt like a moment like that. We're at a turning point for sure. The Vanderpump Rules show got green lighted for another season, season 11. So we're going to see what happens there. Don't know what's going to happen beyond that point. I kind of feel like they're just taking it season by season at this point, and we'll have to see how things shape up. Right now, I think I saw some type of publication or so that Raquel and has broken up with him, broken up with Tom or whatever. So I don't know if that's for ploy or what. Whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, was this really a real relationship, or was just someone he was just messing around with? So they're trying very hard to make it like it was something, and I don't think it was anything but just an affair. So okay, they called it off. Great, wonderful. At the end of the day, I feel like the thrill was gone, right? I mean, they were doing this stuff behind her back, behind the friend's back. There was danger attached to that. Now that everybody knows about it and most people can't stand them, now it's like, well, the thrill's gone, so therefore so is this. Like, I'm not feeling good about this anymore, right? I'm not getting anything out of this, so now we're going to end this. So, I'm sure they'll come up with some silliness, mental health reason or something that will be thrown at as the reason why. And she's just an awful person, because Raquel is an awful person. So yeah, I did see the Watch What Happens live. If you did, go ahead and drop that down in the comment section. I would like to know if you had what you thought about it. I think Ariana looked great. She answered a lot of questions that Andy had for her. And, she just seems like she's doing good. She seems she's doing happy. She basically let us know that she's not talked to Tom. They basically have people who kind of are go-betweens. And she's still in the home, but she would like to sell the home and move on. So we'll see what happens with that. That might reveal itself more in season 11. Also, Sheena and Brock were there to support. And I think she had someone else in the, maybe Danielle, I'm not sure, in the audience were there to support and watch what happens live. So that was beautiful to see. And yeah, everybody was Team Ariana. And I think that was great. I think that she's got so many good opportunities coming from this situation. So there's that. They did talk a little bit about that. I mean, if you don't know already, she's gotten a Lifetime movie out of this situation, and some other endorsements and all that kind of stuff. So she's doing great. She's been crisscrossing across the nation and across the world. Like, they were in London for a wedding. She also is got a new boo, and she seems very happy and smitten with him. I did see some pictures of him. He is cute, and I think that they do make a cute couple. So we'll see what happens. But as long as she's living her life, that is all that matters. And I hope that we will see more of her being happy. Now, the question is going to be, what are they going to do? Right? Is this going to turn into a situation where there's going to be a bidding war between the two? Who's going to stay? Is Ariana going to stay? Is Tom going to stay? What's going to happen? I don't think Raquel needs to be there past half of the 11th season, just to kind of catch things up, but we'll see what happens there. But at the end of the day, what is going to happen? Nobody seems to know. So yeah, it was a good episode though. It was really good. I am looking forward to the reunions. I think it's 3 reunions, so 3 weeks worth of it. I will be recapping and reviewing, discussing. So hopefully you'll get a chance to pop on to the live when I do come out with it. I will do my best to leave a message in the community tab as well, just to let you know when I'm going live for this. But I would love to know your thoughts, what you thought about this season finale. If you did watch it, drop that down in the comment section. I would love that. And, are you looking forward to the reunion? I know that there's been so much information about the situation with Scandoval that's been out there for weeks, well, months now. And so you kind of get to a point where there's so much information that's been put out there. How much more could you find out? And I kind of feel like that, and at the same time, I appreciate some of the details that I did not know. I did not jump on really coming out with the information because it was so much every single day. There was so much going on. So I thought, well, maybe it'd be nice just to kind of an overview, just to kind of keep us all ready to go for the reunion. But I think at this point, between this recap and review and what everything else is out there, we all know what happened. And yeah, there we are. So I think with that, I'm gonna bid you adieu. I appreciate you, and so glad if you were able to take a view that you did, and I hope that you will give the video a like. It will help my video, of course, and I would so appreciate it. And of course, if you are new here, go ahead and subscribe, become part of the family. I'm just really appreciative of the family that we're building up here, and I would love for you to be a part of it as well. I do a lot of reviews and recaps of other shows that will be coming up, and I've done a few already just on the platform. I do a lot of quick takes, celebrity news as well, and so yeah, there's a lot of information out there on the platform and more to come. But I am looking forward to the reunion for this show. I also did a recap and review of the season finale for season 13's Real Housewives of New Jersey as well. So if you haven't got a chance to take a look at that, go ahead and do that. And I also have, I think, the first episode for Roa. I do need to go ahead and recap and review the second episode, so I'll be doing that next day or so, and hopefully you'll get a chance. And also the Martha Vineyard Summer House, fell a little behind on that, unfortunately. I'm so sorry, but I will be recapping like episode 1 and 2 together, so we can then catch up together for number 3. But it does look like a very good show. I'm very excited about that show. It's just, there's been so much going on. I had a wedding to go to, and that was a beautiful wedding, but it just kind of, had a lot of things going on and preparing for that, and fell behind a little bit. So hopefully you won't mind, but I still want to have a discussion, still have it out here, because I'm really happy for that show, and I do hope that it does continue season after season after season. All right, y'all. So I think with that, I'm again bid you adieu, and you take care, and of course be safe. And until next time, bye.